Fala aí rapaziada, como é que vocês estão? Eu espero de coração que todos vocês estejam bem e meus amigos, estamos começando mais um vídeo no canal. Cbum Javorski e Fabio Junio revelaram seus shapes atuais completos, ambos atletas Classic profissionais da Adaptogen que estão classificados para o Olympia 2022. Após imagens de Brandão e Nick Walker mandando um mosh muscular repercutirem muito na mídia internacional, Danny James, que é o treinador do Big Ramy, postou fotos do atleta nesta mesma pose. O maior canal gringo de notícias sobre fisiculturismo falou sobre Cbum, Urs e Ramon e rasgou elogios aos três. Porém, diz que enxerga o Urs um pouco à frente do Ramon atualmente e que acredita que o Dino pode ficar fora do top 3 Olympia, levando em conta os físicos atuais de Cbum, Ruff, Diesel e Urs. Tudo isso e mais no vídeo de hoje, então já vai deixando aquele like que sempre ajuda muito na divulgação do vídeo, se inscreve no canal ativando o sininho e bora começar!
Amigos, e bora começar o vídeo de hoje falando sobre o Big Ramy. Como vocês viram no vídeo anterior aqui no canal ou lá no nosso Instagram, hoje mais cedo o Nick Walker e o Brandão postaram atualizações mandando a pose mosh muscular e ambos repercutiram bastante lá no cenário internacional. Várias páginas postando os dois e até mesmo o Instagram do Olympia postando o Brandão. Após essa repercussão, Danny James, que é o treinador do Big Ramy, fez questão de postar em seus stories essas imagens do Big Ramy mandando essa mesma pose. Na legenda ali, o Dennis fala que este é o shape do Big Ramy no último domingo, quando faltavam 7 semanas para o Mr. Olympia de 2022. Será que o Danny James postou essas imagens como uma resposta à repercussão que o Brandão e principalmente o Nick Walker estavam tendo? Isso nós não sabemos, mas é muita coincidência postar exatamente a mesma pose. Enfim amigos, o que vocês estão achando do shape do Big Ramy? Aproveita e comentem também o que vocês acharam das atualizações do Nick Walker e do Brandão. Agora bora continuar os temas do vídeo de hoje.
Mudando de assunto e agora falando sobre a categoria Classic Physique, recentemente Nick do canal Nick's Strength and Power, que é o maior canal internacional de notícias sobre fisiculturismo, avaliou as últimas atualizações de Cbum, Urs e Ramon. Ele fez muitos elogios aos três, dizendo que todos estão insanos rumo ao grande show, mas opinou que acredita que o Ramon não ficará entre os 3 primeiros desse Olympia, enxergando o Urs um pouco à frente do Dino atualmente. Confiram só o que ele falou sobre os três nesse corte legendado pelo nosso colega do canal Maromba News.
From Chris Bumstead. He doesn't say specifically when this is from. He says he's posing in the gym from a little bit ago, so it's kind of a vague caption there, but I'm assuming it's around this 7 to 8 week out mark based on some of the updates that we saw from him recently with Hani Rambod. We know those announcements and those videos were recent, and he looks pretty comparable to how he looks there. So my opinion on everything that we've seen of Chris Bumstead going up until this point is that he looks really big. To me, he looks bigger than in previous preps, and to me, I think maybe that's their strategy. Maybe that's what Hani and Chris are planning on doing differently, is bringing in a bigger version of Chris than we've ever seen before. I know he's got a little bit of room to play with as far as the weight cap for his height. He is a taller guy, so he has a little bit of a higher weight limit than the other guys already. So he was already one of the bigger guys in that lineup because of his height. But it looks to me, at least upper body-wise, he looks huge. And maybe that makes sense to why he's working with Hani. I mean, Hani is a guy that has coached so many open pro bodybuilders, really big guys, and Hani is known for more of his, like, healthier approach to putting size on these guys. So maybe that's what Chris was looking to do, was come in bigger, put on some size, but do it in a healthy way, and Hani is really the guy to do that. And so far, you know, based on what we've seen from Chris, I'm still going to stand by my prediction that Chris is going to win another Olympia title this year. If I was a betting man, I would bet on Chris right now. If you could bet on bodybuilding, I would bet on Chris right now. I think the guys that have been placing below him are fantastic. Terrence, Urs, Ramon Dino, and we're going to talk about them in a second. But I just think from an overall structure standpoint, his overall look, his overall stage presence, and now, you know, the size that he looks to have, I just don't see anybody beating Chris yet. Any of those guys just having the size to beat him. And I know that it's classic physique. It's not about size. It's a lot to do with shape and structure and posing, which is why I think Terrence does so well. But when you take that classic shape that classic size, those classic proportions, those classic poses, and you put it on a really big bodybuilder, because that's what Chris is. It's just a really dangerous, complete combination. I don't see Chris being beaten. Now, we did get a physique update at 7 weeks out from Urs Kalsinski. I think Urs has looked phenomenal in basically everything that we've seen, and really, this isn't that revealing of a physique update compared to what we've seen of him before. I mean, a couple weeks ago, we saw basically a full posing video from him where he showed off the fact that he already had striated glutes. I think it was at 9 weeks out, and he has the caption on here, had some cookies last night. So not only does he look shredded, but he looks really full, I think was the point of this update. His delts look crazy capped, crazy round. And I see Urs moving up a couple placings this year. I don't see Breon placing ahead of Urs this year. Last year he did. This year I don't see that happening. So I think Urs is going to insert himself a little bit more into that conversation. I think he's improved a lot over the last year or so, and I think that's going to be reflected in his placing. Now, in addition to that update from Urs, we got an update from Ramon Dino, and Ramon at 7 weeks out, he looks pretty insane as well. And I got to say, looking at this picture in particular and looking at some of the other videos I've seen of Ramon, I think it's safe to say that he probably has the best forearms in classic physique. It's really actually pretty insane if you look at it. I mean, he really kind of reminds me of like a Phil Heath forearm or like a Lee Priest. He's got that kind of Popeye, just crazy roundness. Forearms look almost as big as his biceps, which is pretty crazy. And Ramon is another guy that I see moving up. And I think the main way these guys are going to move up is I see Breon moving down and these guys becoming more of the conversation for the title. I think right now, I really think Urs is a little bit ahead of Ramon. So my top three really is looking like Chris winning. I think Terrence is still going to be second, Urs in third. But I think the battle is really going to be Urs and Ramon and not so much Breon in that conversation, because I just think these young up-and-comers, they're too good. I mean, they're just better. And look at Ramon in this update. He looks insane here. This is a classic physique. Those crazy big forearms, that was another thing that you would see a lot with guys like, you know, Mike Mentzer, for example, had a...
E aí, amigos, o que vocês acharam da opinião do Nick sobre Ramon, Urs e Cbum? Comentem aí. Aproveitando o papo sobre a classe physique do Olympia, agora nós vamos falar sobre outros dois brasileiros que estão classificados para o grande show e revelaram seus físicos atuais no mais recente vídeo que saiu lá no canal da Hoje. Estamos falando do Cbum Javorski e o Fabio Junio. Ambos atletas no vídeo estavam na academia overall de Curitiba, sendo avaliados por André Pajé, Júlio Gorila e Tio Lima e o Robson overall. Javorski é simplesmente um gigante da Classic. Vocês viram ele este ano competindo até mesmo na categoria Open e não deixando a desejar no quesito volume muscular. Então, podemos esperar ele no Olympia como um dos maiores atletas do palco, falando em questão de volume. Já Fabio Junio está muito bem encaixado como sempre. O atleta, depois que venceu o Olympia Brasil na Classe Physique Pro, segurou muito bem o seu rebote e tudo indica que veremos um físico mais denso e condicionado no palco do Olympia. Muito se fala sobre Ramon Dino e Gabriel Zancanelli rumo ao Olympia, mas não podemos desconsiderar essas outras duas feras brasileiras da Classic Physique que estão trabalhando muito duro para representar muito bem o nosso país em dezembro. Depois, se quiserem assistir o vídeo completo, confiram lá no canal da Hoje que está bem legal.
Mas é isso aí, rapaziada, por hoje é só. Esperamos que vocês tenham curtido o vídeo. Já vai deixando aquele like que sempre ajuda muito na divulgação. Se inscrevam no canal ativando o sininho para sempre estarem recebendo nossos próximos vídeos. E comentem aí também suas críticas, sugestões e, é claro, as suas opiniões sobre o vídeo. Tamo junto, rapaziada. Um forte abraço a todos vocês. Valeu, falou e fui!